This is the first of many videos you'll be watching this year that help you prepare for class, upcoming lab investigations, and experiments. They can also be used as a great resource to review for assessments, tests, quizzes. What you'll be doing is as you're watching, you can rewind, you can pause, you can stop, you can fast forward, you can watch them again to help you fill in the note sheet, and be prepared with any questions that you may have the day your note sheets are due in class. So this video relates to our phenomenon, how do organisms repair an injury? And we're going to focus this video on characteristics of living things. Scientists classify or put things in categories based on things that all organisms have in common. All organisms need to have specific characteristics in order to be classified as living. If they do not meet these characteristics or criteria, they cannot be living. You're going to be watching several video clips of different objects. Some are living and some are not. And then you're going to determine if a couple of them are living or not and provide explanations. Here are the answers to some of the video clips that you saw of different objects. So dog, the plant, chickens, and my tiny human children are living, whereas water, sand, and fire are not living. And most of those, because we are just kind of giving an explanation based on what we could see with our eyes, the reason that water, sand, and fire are not living is because they can't readily move on their own. They move by other processes, mostly wind. Fire seems to flicker, and that has to do with a difference in the temperature around the fire and the temperature of the fire itself. But the other organisms, the plant actually moves because it'll bend its stems or its branches to reach out for sunlight. So which ones did you get right? Hopefully you were able to guess a couple more than just the two required. Okay, so now on to living versus non-living. So what are the characteristics of living things? Well, they have to be made of cells, and we'll talk about what a cell is in great detail. They have to use energy, okay? Energy can be from the sunlight, can be from food, so it could be chemical changes of changing our food into something that we can use to make our bodies grow and change and develop and allow us to move, reproduce, and then respond to stimuli. A stimulus could be somebody pinching you. It could be sunlight when you squint your eyes. Or it could be running because a bee is chasing you. So those are all ways to respond to a stimuli for a human. Living things must have and do all of the things listed under the living column, okay? If an object only meets 3 of the things listed under the living column, then it is still just non-living, okay? So if you take a look at the non-living column, you can see that objects such as like a camera is not made out of cells. It uses batteries to power itself, which is electricity, but that's not using the kind of chemical energy that living things use. And they don't grow, and they don't respond to stimuli, and they can't reproduce. So non-living objects, again, do not meet any of the criteria of living objects. So let's look deeper into the criteria of what a living object needs to have. So these are characteristics of living things. They all have to have cells. It can be one cell, okay, so that could be really, really tiny, like we're going to look under the microscope, or it could have many, like a bird or a worm or a large spider, or even us, which can have millions into billions of cells that make up that living organism. Think about an elephant. It would have to have billions and billions of cells to make up that elephant. Grow, change, and develop. That means they have life cycles. If you look on the bulletin boards at the back of my classroom, you'll see that there's a couple life cycle posters there. Okay, so they're born, they grow, and then they make new ones of themselves, and then they die. Okay, we have complex growth and physical growth. Okay, so humans grow taller, worms will grow longer. Plants can grow bigger each year. Their leaves get bigger and bigger. Their flowers open up. Uses energy. Well, we have to take in food. Most animals take in food somehow, okay? And then they digest it, and that's happening inside their body, which they change their food into chemical energy. They respirate, so respiration is breathing, okay? And then excretion, which is getting rid of waste. And then they need to respond to stimuli. So this could be outside the body or inside the body. So we have external stimuli, which is if I pinch someone, okay, they're going to say ouch. And internal is different things happening inside your body. If you have a stomach ache, most of you, that's inside your body, and then you respond to stimuli by telling me you have to go to the nurse. They reproduce, so all organisms, if we didn't reproduce, then different species would go extinct, okay? We go extinct for other reasons, which we'll get to later in the year. But if organisms were not able to reproduce, then they would go extinct. Okay, so there's 2 types of reproduction. Sexual reproduction, which requires 2 parents to give rise to offspring or their children, and then asexual reproduction, which is 1 parent. So an example of that is sea sponge. There's different types of bacteria. Plants can be both asexual and sexual reproduction. Examples of sexual reproduction would be elephants, spiders, and then the last one is movement. Animals move to get food, and plants move to get closer to sunlight. So if you're questioning the whole plants move to get closer to sunlight, go out and look at different tall trees. Find a maple tree or a birch tree. And it doesn't just grow straight, especially if there's trees around it. Look at what those branches are doing and how they grow in order to obtain that sunlight.